Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Goodney Sandy, and we're going to continue on HTML layouts. So in a previous video, we talked about flexbox layout, and in this section, we're going to talk about grid layout. So the difference between flexbox and grid, we are going to talk about it too, and basically grid is for multi-dimensional. So also check out the video on flexbox so that would also help you to understand this section properly. So basically we are talking about HTML layout in general, and grid layout is also one of the ways you get to position HTML structures, right? So for flex is one dimensional, but for grid layout it's multi-dimensional. So let's look at examples. So in a previous video on Flex, we're able to do this using Flex. It's easier to do this using Flex, right? It's one direction. Yes, so this was done. You could check out the previous video. And you could also do this with grid. It's very easy with grid too. But for a scenario where you have something like this, so you have a structure like this, a web page that structures something like that. So how do you go about it? For this case, you can use flexbox. The grid is where it's where grid comes in here. It's multi-dimensional, right? You could see this extend down here and this too. So we would try to do this using grid, right? So let's just go ahead with it. Okay. Close this. Let's go to our code. I think it's still open. So I'm just going to open it. A layout project folder. So this is for Flex. I'm going to create another one for grid grid.html, right? And I'm going to have a styling for that, so an external style sheet for that too. So just like what we did before for Flex, we're going to set this up and I'm going to call this grid. The title grid layout. And all right, and I'm going to attach the link to the CSS by using the link tag. Close that. All right. So I'm going to split the screen to have this one side, and I'm going to open up this phone in. Okay. So for what we're trying to recreate now, you can see that we don't have the header, we don't have the footer. This is just the main. So we'll just go ahead to create the main tag and put our elements in the main tag. Right. So what do we have here? This is a container, a div container. This is 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 a div container. So unlike what we did in the flexbox, the flexbox, we kind of had to position it. We had to kind of group things differently, right, to get what we want. But for the grid, we're going to have all our containers listed out, right? So I'm not going to write out all this text. So I'm just going to call this A. This is container A, right? The next one, which is this container, is B. The next one, which is this container down here, is C. The next one here is D and E. We have 5 containers there. Right. So this is all we need: A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D, E. Right. Format this. So let's go ahead to the styling to style this. Yep. Going to use this. Okay, so just like the usual formatting, we're going to remove all form of default margin. By the way, let's see what we have here. Let's see our page using that. So, okay, ABC, right. So we're going to remove that, remove padding, default padding, right. So the body, I'm going to give it a background color of gray. Gray. Okay, just to be sure that our style sheet is working, I'm going to want to give this a black color. I think there's an issue with the style sheet. Let's see. This was supposed to be style sheet. Let me just copy this so that I will show. Great. .css. Right, so I believe that should work. Okay, now I think I didn't write that well, the link to the style sheet. So let's go ahead. Right, so we don't want this. Okay. Okay, I think we can keep this, right? So next thing is to give this a class name for each of the items, because each of the items have different colors. So I'm just going to call this item A. This is item B, item C, item D, and item E. So we're done with that. And next thing we're going to do is to look at the main tab, right? So this time around we're using display grid. Right. Okay. And if we are to look at our work, you could see that is at the center. We agree. Our element is at the center here. It's at the center of the web page. That's what I mean. Okay, and we have to try to make it center, just like what we did before. to do that, our main display grid, we could, okay, we already have display grid on the main. But let's just go ahead to put on the color so that we can see the difference. So we know the structure of everything. Let's just put colors to each of the items. So item A has a color of, has a background color. Or we'll call that, is it blue, violet? Yeah, accepted. Item B has a gray color. Item C has a white color. Item D has a black, or is that just black for it. Okay, and they have they're going to use a padding for each of them. Okay, going to use a padding for each of them. So instead of having to type padding for each of them, we could just do something like main div, right? They're saying all the div in the main should just have a padding. The reason why we didn't do it for individually, it's just unnecessary to put padding for each of them. But if we do it this way, it also works. So we have added padding and also text align centered. One things to be centered. Right. So they're all centered now. And this is what it looks like. The full string. Right. So next we're going to do, I closed my code. Okay, we're back on track. So next I'm going to do now is to arrange them. And to do that, we are going to use what we call grid area. So let's go to W3 School and see what we have there. We could learn one or two things before. Grid layout. Okay. Right. So this is a layout. You see the header. This is a layout that we know that even the main can now handle it. So we use grid for this case. So this, excuse me, each of the grid items are called grid elements. So we have the grid rows, the grid columns. So grid, since we say it's multi-dimensional, we're going to have rows and columns, right? And the column gap or row gap or the gap, which is for both column and row, right? So there are different ways you can handle grid, and we are going to use a method called grid area. Grid area will help us to proportionally arrange the grid elements into the way we want it with grid area. So let's just see how we are going to do that. So grid template area. Before we use grid template areas, we'd have to name each of the grid item, right? So we are going to call this using grid area, right? We're going to call this, I'm going to call this A, right? I'm just going to call that A. The next one, I'm going to call it B. I'm giving it a name that I would give to the main container so that we can handle the grid template areas. A, B, C. One is missing. And this is a D. We should have up to E. if I'm correct. What's the color for the E? A, B, C, D, E. E is black, C is white. A, B, C, C is white. This two should be white. Okay. C and D is white. And E is black. A, B, C, D, E. That's how I'm doing it. So A, B, C, D, E. So grid area for each of the items, give it a name. And that way we're able to work on our grid template areas. And this is how you do it with the grid template areas. Okay. So here we are going to, because if you look at this, let's look at this a little bit more. Okay. Let's look at this in terms of rows and column. This is a row, this is a row. So we have two rows. The columns, this is column 1, column 2, column 3, and column 4. What happens is that this takes up 2 spaces in this row. This column take up 2 columns for this row. This took up 2 rows, 2 spaces for this column, took up here and here, while this extended down here. Okay, so we're going to do explain that. We're going to show that structure on the we're going to show that structure here. So what we have is A is for this first one. So you have A, right? The next one is B. You have a B here, and the next one is C. Then we go down to do the same thing. So we have A, B, C, D. D is just right under A. Then we have E extended 2 times, right? And the last one is C. You could see that C extended down to the second row. So this is first row, second row, column, 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 right? Let's see what we got from there. Okay. This, let's see. This is our A, B, C, right? B, E, C. A, B, C, D. Something is missing there. Okay, let's look at A, B, C, D, E. And this is A, grid A, grid B, grid C, grid D. A, B, C, D. Okay, I'm going to change this to E. My mistake. Right. So you could see that. Okay, this is black. So I think I would have to change this color a little bit to a lighter shade of, so that we can see the E. It ought to be black. Okay, so much better. You could see the E. So that's a structure there, right? So what did I really do? Using these grid template areas, I'm able to divide the structure into rows and columns, right? I named it with the grid area, and I'm able to give it, position it the way I want. I could play around with this, right? I could decide to extend this. Let's say, if I remove this, yeah, okay, I could decide to extend this. You see that? So this is A, B, C, D, E. I could decide to do this. Okay, that's how let's look at it very well. If I want B to go down, right, I will do A, B, C. Okay, this is still going to be C, and I could still decide to add B. B will still go down. See that? Right. You could play around this. Different structures, different cycles in different structures. You could play around this using with template areas. There are different ways too. We had with columns, still trying to, just to use grid. But this is a very good way of doing it, and it's faster too. Right. So what next do we need to do? I think just to put things back on track. What we need to do now is to put this at the center. Okay. What we need to do now is to put this at the center. I think let me open this up. Right. To put this at the center, because what we have here is kind of centralized, and we have some spaces. So to add space, I'm going to use with gap and use gap. We're going to give it a space of 10 px, and we should see some space, right? You see the space. The space is not big enough to make it 20. Right. Border radius. It's just an extra styling. It's a 20 pixel. Border radius just for this course. That's too much. 20 pixel. Right. Okay, so what's the next thing you want to do now is to put it at the center, and we will do that using the body because we want this to be at the center. I'm going to use display grid. And next thing is to place items center, and the height relative to the height of 100 each. Right. So there we have it. I think this gap was a little bit too much. Yes. Okay. I'm going to open this up. Okay, hold on. Let's see what is missing there. Okay, I'm going to give this a minimum height. Let's see. Place item center, and what is missing? Just looking through. Okay, we gap. I give it a gap. We have a width. Okay, I think give it a width of 50% because I want it to be at the center, and a margin also. That should solve the problem. Let's see. Okay, right there at the center. What is this missing? I think I would like to looking. Okay, yeah. So I think we got what we wanted. This is the same size with this, and this extended, right? Okay, I think is the same. Right. Yep. It is. Yeah. Okay. So you can go ahead to put in your content, and it's going to, keep expanding depending on the content itself. So you can see that this content is more, this content is more, this content is more. So you just keep expanding in that direction. All right. I don't know if you have any question regarding grade. Feel free to ask me on Slack. It can be dicey sometimes, but as you continue practicing, you're going to get to understand better, right? And you're going to have your next assessment, next task on this, and expect you to do something like this, right? I trust you'll be able to handle that. Okay, so this is where we are going to end our class. I hope you learned something. All right. See you on Slack. Bye.